Coach, thanks for doing this on a short week. Let's start there. Obviously, the challenges of playing 2 games in 5 days. How is that for your staff as well as you and the guys?
Yeah, it's excuse me, a really quick turnaround. 7 days seems short for coaches. Players probably like it better. They'd rather just play games than practice. But the hardest part is making sure you guys are healthy and fresh. So we're very limited practice-wise. We had practice in shorts yesterday for about an hour and 10 minutes today. There'll be another one in shorts for about an hour. Guys are a little banged up from the last game, so you don't know if they'll be ready to go for this game or not. So there's all some challenges, but everybody in our league, I think everybody, or just about everybody, has 1 or 2 of these short windows. Last year, I think we had 2 or 3 of them. So you kind of plan for it ahead of time, and then get ready to play.
Share some thoughts on what you've seen out of New Mexico State.
Yeah, they're some tough guys. I mean, they battle. I think some of the earlier games they were right there with it. Opportunity obviously to beat, had a chance to beat Liberty, who's been one of the best teams in the Group of 5 the last couple of years. That went down to the wire. They're going to play very hard. We know that. We got to keep our poise and be disciplined. And they seem like their offense found a groove in their last game with a change in quarterback. So. I'm mostly concerned that we got to make sure we come out of the gates well. And we played in a night game, 4 days ago, and so we got to get our focus ready. And it's at home, which is a good thing, and get ready to play.
Questions for Coach?
When it's 5 days instead of 7, what do you have to cut out?
You cut out, well, for us, and again, we've done it before, and I've done this before. You really cut out you hate doing it, but you cut out your padded practices, and I think you always like to have 1 or 2 of them, but with just such a short window and being such a physical game, you cut that out a little bit, so you worry that as your blocking and tackling going to be as good. Last year we didn't see a big difference when we didn't practice in pads, but again, this is a new year, so we'll see how that part of it. And then your game prep, we try to do a little bit of a game prep during our open date before the last game, just so we have a little bit of a head start on this 5-day window. But it's getting it in there pretty quick. So we'll have, we won't change our practice schedule. And again, I don't want to take all of our time of our players, because we want them, they got to be students and have a normal life. But we'll have some meetings tomorrow and have a couple meeting or so Saturday, meeting or so Wednesday afternoon as well before we head out there.
Who are the guys that are questionable for this game?
Well, Brock Roby is supposed to get tested today. I think check on his knee. He got hurt in the last game. Our quarterback was banged up, but he should be able to practice and play. We had a couple guys on defense and special teams that are banged up a little bit, and so the difference is normally by midweek, okay, we have a good idea one way or another. Now some of these guys will be game time decisions.
They didn't play Saturday, so I know
Who's that?
they didn't play Saturday.
Yeah,
they got to fly here, but is that an edge?
Yeah, I think anytime you got a little bit more time than your other opponent, you'd think that gives them a little bit of advantage. I always thought, when we had open dates and other teams didn't, which doesn't happen a lot, but when you do, it's a little bit of advantage because you got a little bit of a chance maybe to look at some stuff. But I think sometimes it's you can overanalyze too. You have so much time. Coaches put in too many plays, or we overanalyze it too much. So I think it's in particular in our league, which it's been good for the exposure for the league and for the teams. This midweek thing is an interesting challenge, and the hardest part is like figuring out what day it is. I keep telling to me, this is Thursday all the way, but you keep forgetting, it's Monday for everybody else. So, but we'll run through this stretch here in the next 3 weeks or so, and then get back to normal.
Is it, from a recruiting standpoint, is it tougher to get guys in from
It is. We got a few guys coming in from some high schools that had open dates, so we'll have a few. But typically, that's the hardest part when you want Wednesday, Thursday, or even Friday. You don't get to see the recruits on campus as much. And the hardest part about that now is that the signing date's been moved up. I think it's like December 4th or something. Anyway, it's the first week in December. So at least in November, we have some Saturday games and we'll able to have some recruits in, but it is a different challenge, but I mean, hell, what isn't a challenge nowadays in college football, right? And everybody's talking about it. It's, like I told my staff, the goalposts have moved, we gotta move with them, with it.
It seems like Huff plays better and better. Could you talk about what you've seen?
Yeah, I think every week, again, it's his first year, like it's Trey's first year. I mean, those guys are still learning, but I think they're getting more and more comfortable each week with what we do. And, you know, probably the biggest, not the biggest difference, but one of the differences in our offense is, you know, our tempo is pretty quick, and so you don't have a lot of time to think. Once a play is called, you know, we're running it. And so that's usually harder on our quarterbacks than anybody else. And he's, you know, Tyler's a smart guy. He's adapted really well.
We did a really good job this past week of controlling the line of scrimmage from both sides of the ball.
Yeah, we were a little bit bigger than them, and you know, played pretty physical up front. You know, I thought our D-line, you know, played pretty consistently up front. We gotten better there, and our O-line is, you know, we got a little more size there than we've had, but we had a couple guys banged up, and so there were several guys that got significant playing time that hadn't played as much this year. They did a pretty nice job.
Coach, how valuable is that game film, that game experience for some of those offensive linemen that you rotated in?
Yeah, there's nothing better experience-wise than actually playing in the game. You could and we try to make it in practice pretty intense. I think these guys will probably tell you. We try to make it pretty intense so it simulates, you know, the intensity of a game. But there's still, you know, there's nothing like game plays and getting some game action. And you know, this is a long season. We're not even halfway through. And so we're going to need our entire roster, most of our roster to be ready to play. So we got some young guys, you know, some freshmen or some other guys that maybe have not played at all, that we got to get ready to play, whether it's on special teams or what have you, because it's going to be a long season. And, you know, the freshmen or some of those guys can play 4 games and still get redshirted. So we've got that in plan, in particular with our special teams, because it wasn't, you know, special teams was not good in the last game. We've got to get better with that, and so we're looking at some new guys there too.
The 31 first downs Friday, where does that rate against some of the highest numbers your teams have had over the years?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a high. We've had, I didn't, you know, kind of look back. We've had a few that was in the mid-30s, I think, but if we get 25 or more, that usually means we have some kind of control on the tempo, and that's the big key for us is offensively. Once we get in the rhythm or get first downs, you got a chance to control the tempo a little bit. And the same thing true on defense. If we get interceptions or turnovers or 3 and outs, then the offense is back on the field. Their defense has to come back on the field, and you got a chance to control the tempo more. So we're always, you know, I'm not a stat watcher, but that's usually the first one that you'll look at and say, hey, did we control the game with our tempo? And if you have, you know, 25 first downs or more, you usually did.
New staff defensively, are they doing different stuff than what they did last year?
Yeah, I mean, they have some of the same coaches. Coordinator was at, defense coordinator was at Sam Houston, so we played, you know, he'll know us and you know, what we do. They got some of the same players, of course. You know, I've known their head coach for a long time, back when he was the head coach at Bishop Gorman in Vegas. And those kids, like I said, they play hard. They got a lot of guys, and they're going to be fresh and ready to go Wednesday night.
Coach, thanks for your time.
All right, thanks, guys.
Bringing defensive lineman Ricky Samuel next. Ricky, what clicked for you guys in the second half? It seemed like you got a lot more stops and you were able to control their run game a lot better in that second half on Friday.
Yeah, well, we're naturally a second half team anyway, especially the defense. You know, we kind of went in and regrouped everything, came back out, we're ready.
Questions for Ricky?
Regrouped how? What were some of the things you did at halftime to fix it?
Well, we really had to just come together and get more comfortable with the defense, kind of get on track with their tempo and how they were coming off the ball and, you know, how they were doing some things.
It seems like the defense has been showing a lot of improvement. What do you see that you guys are doing right that was maybe an issue at the start of the year?
Well, you know, it's all new for most of us, so we really just had to get comfortable with the scheme. You know, had to get a couple games down. You know, like running a new defense and stuff. And after that, everybody pretty much got comfortable with doing it, and then we just continued to get better.
At halftime with Eastern Michigan, the defense had no sacks for the season. And then you got 5 in the second half. And then it's just continued from that point on. Can you point at any one thing that changed it at halftime at Eastern Michigan?
Well, like I said, we're naturally a second half team anyway, just by, the summer and stuff. That just goes back to the summer and stuff, with the working out and everything we did. But
Just clicked.
yeah, it just clicked.
Talk about your shirt. Did someone give that to you? Did you buy it or just?
Yeah, so this is a shirt everybody has. Basically, it's just like, just a kid from Bruton, Alabama, and just because this all started, with me just being a kid and just wanting to play football. So just a kid from Bruton.
Coach mentioned about playing the 2 games in 5 days. You guys just want to play football. At what point does that adrenaline kick in and you don't worry about having just played a game a couple days ago?
Well, whenever you're just on a schedule, like for so long, it's kind of fun to get something new, so it's kind of exciting that we don't, have to go and pass or have to do this, the same thing. We get to do something different, so it's all pretty, it's fun.
Are you still sore from Friday night?
I was sore, but I've been kind of getting in the cold tub and the hot tub and stuff, so I'm not sore anymore.
The Wednesday night games or the midweek games, you played some of them last year. Did you like those?
Yes, so we all actually like the games. It's just kind of like a quick turnaround, just because it's like I said, it's something new, and it's just kind of exciting that we don't, like Coach Richard said, we would rather play games than practice anyway. So,
What excites you about playing a night game at Amherst Stadium?
well, I mean, the crowd's obviously gonna be rocking and stuff, and it's just, I guess it's just the atmosphere, really, and it's not as hot, for the bigger guys like myself, so we can move around a little bit better.
Ricky, thanks for your time.
Sweet.
Up next is running back Trey Stewart. Trey, coming off of a 4-touchdown game on Friday against Kennesaw State, what worked well in the run game for you guys in that contest?
I say just believing in the O-lineman, trusting in them, and then also having Tyler Huff being able to run and get yards too. So it's like it puts the defense in stress.
Awesome. Questions for Trey?
That last touchdown, I believe it was that you scored, Tyler got it down to the 1-yard line and then handed off to you, and he was the first one to come over and congratulate you for the score.
Yeah, it was amazing. I called him slow for not scoring actually on that play. He should have scored, but he was excited for me, so it was a team effort.
Did you ever have 4 touchdowns at Limestone? I figured you must have at some point there.
No, I think the closest I got was 3 touchdowns. I think I had like 320 yards that game. So that's the closest.
What's the difference in D2 and what you're doing now?
I say the resources really, nutrition wise and strength program. That's all. That's the big difference I see.
What brought you to Jackson?
What brought me? Coach Garrett, Coach Richrod, and Coach Hot Rod.
Coach Rodriguez mentioned that one of the things that he's going to cut out this week is padded practices. Do you miss those, or do you like having a break from that?
Sometimes it helps, and sometimes, it still could be like a little shaky because the offensive line still need to get their fits and schemes and stuff right. So that's the only difference I would say.
Trey, what were some of the challenges for you when you moved from the Division II level to the Division I level?
I'd say honestly, just getting used to being around people that also play at a faster pace. I'd say that's a big difference. Faster pace game, because we're a lot turbo in this offense, so it's like you got to get in shape.
Why do you think you've adjusted so quickly to this level?
I say the coaches, they helped me a lot, and actually watching film and studying.
Awesome. Trey, thanks for your time. Appreciate you doing this.
Thank you.